What's up guys, I'm Morty60Bricks and today I'm really excited to show you this mock I've been working on for over 2 months. I'll be giving you an overview of my JDM garage. It's built on two 48x48 base plates, has over 8,000 parts and a lot of cool details. So without further ado, let's get started. Starting with the cars, I did them all on a 6-stud wide scale to keep the mock smaller than what would be needed to accommodate the Speed Champion size. The other reason is because I only have one Speed Champion set and I just didn't have the parts necessary to build multiple cars. The first car I made is a Nissan S80, which for those who don't know is the body of a 180SX with the front end of an S13. This was done because as drifters crashed their 180s, they found it was cheaper and lighter to use an S13 front end. I knew I wanted to include this car because it's not just another factory set of wheels, but it really shows the culture at the time period, which was making do with what you had. Unfortunately, the illegal building technique makes it a little hard to move around, but it was necessary to get the shape right. Next is the Honda CRX. This one is definitely the weakest of the three, but still a worthy inclusion I think. The front of the car looks decently accurate, but the back is too blocky and not as precise as I'd like. If I had more parts, I think I could have made something a little bit more interesting, but I only have wheel arches in black, white, and dark bluish gray, and not enough specific detail parts in those colors to make something like a GTR or an RX-7. Finally, the obvious best is the Porsche 911 930. This is specifically the Blackbird. It was custom modified by Porsche themselves to be the fastest and lightest car of its make. It was the most iconic black car I could think of and has super wide rear fenders, which pose a nice design element. This car is the most complex and interesting of the three, so I thought I'd give you a breakdown of how I built it. First, I used a snot technique to attach the headlight and the front curved section behind it. This simply attaches to a 1x1 snot brick. Next is this assembly with the front wheels and some curved slopes. Following that is a plate stack, with the main part being a headlight brick using a 1x1 stud with bar element connecting a cut curved slope. Moving forward is a stack of plates on curved slopes to hold the taillight assembly. Next is this bracket made from arch bricks and a snot brick connected to 1x1 brackets. This will finally round out the rear of the fender flares. Next is an illegal building technique used to mimic the side skirts. It uses a snot brick with bar clip and a tile to get the angle perfectly. There is also a stud with bar to keep the assembly from moving in too far. Then we add this weird vent contraption connected on hinges. After, a plate assembly to hold it in place. Then to cap it all off is a plate with railing and a 1x1 on the bottom to fit in the small hole created. This finishes the fender and gives it a nice round look. One of the last things to add is its iconic whale tail rear spoiler. Then we move to the front section, which is mostly made of plates, but uses two minifigure brackets encasing the grille and the front bumper. And last but not least, the roof and A-pillars. Now moving on to the main build, we can start with the gas station. The first thing to mention are the lines marking the road and a grate made from some grill parts, along with some arrows to show where the cars can enter and exit. Dividing these two lanes are yellow traffic barriers. On the left side, there's also a small sewer grate. In the center of the section, you'll see some common gas station amenities like a newspaper box, the gas pump itself, and a garbage can. This section is the first thing that I built for this mock, and it really helped create a scale and building style for the following developments. The gas pump is made mostly from standard bricks, but the hose is made from whip pieces, and it has a gun for the handle and nozzle. Moving to the side are some plant beds. This is something I knew I had to include to try and break up the industrialized and slightly dull look. I had a few ideas on how to make the beds, but none of them worked out, either for scaling or I didn't have enough parts. I finally settled on a snot technique using black door frames, and I think it looks pretty good, especially contrasting with all the gray. As you can see, in the middle of the beds there's also a railing. I thought the beds look a little too plain just having plants, and I wanted to use the flexible hoses in some way. Moving back to the center of the section, we can take a look at the gas station canopy. The base starts with a standard brick foundation that's tiled off to include a circular Technic element that has a nice taper into the pillars, which uses the same technique as the ones in the plant beds. The pillars use bar parts inside the snot bricks for extra rigidity, and on top, a 2x2 tile with a Technic hole is inverted for the proper connection. The canopy is built completely sideways other than these two plates, one topped with tiles and the other with grill parts, which when included is such a seamless addition that breaks up the constant red in a really satisfying way. These were originally included only because I needed a way to cover the light strips on the bottom. I also made these toppers which serve the purpose of keeping the two halves together. Further back are these snot panels made from regular bricks with just enough space for a tile road marking. One road is the entrance to the gas station and the other is going into the garage. This ledge is primarily a sidewalk that needs to be tiled off more, but unfortunately I'm out of any kind of light bluish gray tiles, so it's pretty bland with the exception of the vending machine, which I may or may not have forgotten to include while filming. Moving to the gas station building, I really like how it turned out. It took so long to get to this point, but I'll spare you all the details. I really like the transparent blue windows on the white base. The front of the building is a little bland, but I tried to add the flag and it made it look a little bit better. It gives a cool break from the repetitive shape of the building. Moving to the side of the building, there's a design on the bottom that uses plates with rounded bottoms and minifigure handcuffs. It's not the most detailed or elegant, but it adds a lot of sophistication. A step up from that is a red stripe pattern, which is consistent along the whole building. Moving up a little more, there are white door frames with transparent blue windows laid sideways. And what really lifts the building up to the next level are the columns made with 2x2 round bricks and 2 different teeth parts. The top of the building is pretty simple with partially tiled areas and some mechanical details. Moving to the inside of the building, there's a lot of interesting things to see. After first coming in the door, there's a front desk and a cash register. Behind that is a window into the garage, and moving to the left, there's a wall of different products. Swinging to the back wall is a fridge, and the racks are made from grill tiles held in by bar clip pieces. It took me about 10 minutes to set up the cans vertically, and I don't plan on doing it again. Moving to a more open space, the checkered floor pattern becomes more obvious, and I think it fits the space really well. In the center of the store, there are some fresh fruits. To the left of that, there's an ice cream cooler with a stack of bowls, and a display of strawberries and some assorted pastries. Finally getting to the garage, there's a change in style from the gas station. Below the windows, there are ball joint parts with a partial vehicle fender. Moving up is the window, and above, a strip of sand blue and a pattern of cut tiles and 2x2 round tiles. Topping that are slopes that lead to the roof. Separating each slice of building is the train rail part. The broad side of the building also follows the same patterns. When first coming into the garage, there's a slope section to get the cars gradually to the floor height. To the right is a pile of boxes containing ordered parts and modifications to the cars. There's also a brick-built car jack and some toolboxes. To the left, there's a wrench, a portion of an exhaust, an air intake made with a cone and a 90-degree connector, and beside that is a portable toolbox made from an inverted 2x2 brick. To show more of the interior, I unfortunately have to remove the roof. Now front and center is a working car lift. There's the hydraulic system on the side and the forks that go under the chassis. Behind that are a variety of things like a tire changer, a drill press, a table with some rims, lamp, and other various parts. And moving back, there's a Honda B-Series engine on a stand. The ports for the exhaust manifold were made from minifigure binoculars. The intake manifold is made from a Technic part with some studs, and it has timing gears made from tiles. Behind that is a black toolbox with a variety of tools on display. Beside that is a rack for parts, on top is a piston and an axle, below are wheels and tires, and on the bottom shelf there are many cans of spray paint. To the right of that is an engine lift to remove the engines from the engine bay. And finally there are some floor stickers which I don't really like. The novel one is fine, but the nitrous oxide systems is overkill in hindsight. Surrounding them is another car lift, but this one is for storage. Unfortunately, I didn't have a discreet way for it to raise and lower other than maybe putting Technic axles on the floor, but it's too late for that. I tried to make this mock relatively minifig scale, and here's some perspective of how big this space really is. I think that pretty much wraps up the garage interior, so I'll put the roof back on and show you that. Unfortunately, the garage roof is really bland, and I didn't have the creative energy after working on this thing for so long to make something. If you have any ideas on what I can put up here, tell me in the comments and I'll see what I can cook up. On the roof of the garage is a large glass window that adds much needed natural light and some detail onto the top of the model. The final section is probably the coolest, at least for me. It's a pile of parts in the ventilation system. There's another vending machine which I remembered to add, and some parts in a crate. A crowbar, mouse, some more crates and boxes, a tire, and a radio. Up top is the HVAC system, and it was really fun to connect all those devices together in a cohesive mess. And that concludes the video. Thank you for watching. Feel free to tell me what you thought about it in the comments, and I'll see you later.